Okay, we're going live. Oh, there we go. Hello, welcome to Mastering Adam. My name is Casper Stockham. Thank you for being on the show today. I have a special guest host with me as well, um, Roger Peters, and he will be. I'll be introducing him to you in just a second. But before that, I wanted to give a shout out to our sponsors to the podcast, as I Am Love Builders. We have a new book out called Divorce Proofing Your Marriage. It hit the hot new release list on Amazon. So we're excited about that. In fact, if you don't believe me, there it is. So we hit that for a brief moment, but now it's dropped down. That's how those things work. They kind of come and go. We also have a new ebook out that is free. You can get that by going to our website at I Am Love Builders. All right. So, Mr. Roger Peters from Epic Sages.
That's me.
Yes. So, Roger, introduce yourself to my audience, please.
Sure. Hello, I'm Roger Peters, also known as Rook online, all my online monikers and whatnot. I run Epic Sages, which is a TTRPG hosting site. So we teach people how to play games like Dungeons and Dragons, Pathfinder, Starfinder, Blades of the Dark, basically anything that you can play and roll dice with. And we do all kinds of fun stuff. I'm here today because I'm a married man of 10 years, got two little ones, a boy and a girl, 6 and 3. I live up in Alaska, and I'm here to have fun and talk about the stuff today.
Yes. Well, thank you for that. I appreciate it. Hey, folks, if you are watching the show, our Facebook live feed decided to not work today. However, we are going live on YouTube and Twitter, or X, as they say. So if you have any comments, feel free to type those in the comment box on any of those platforms. And give me 1 second because my screen kind of dropped on me here. Where is it at? There it goes. Okay. It's always fun doing something live.
Right.
Always fun. Let me see. Where is it? There we go. All right. So our show topic for today is going to be embracing the vulnerabilities and empathy, and at Adam and Eve, the greatest love story never told. Now, on my last podcast, Roger, I was talking with my guest, Pastor Green, and he threw something at me that really kind of threw me for a loop, because one of the reasons why I felt the need to start this podcast was to build up men and come at it from a biblical Adam perspective, the Adam and Eve perspective. And I think the majority of Christians would probably all agree that, we look at the Adam and Eve story, or the Adam specifically, and say he should not have taken the fruit. Don't do it, right? If he didn't do it, then we wouldn't have sin. We wouldn't have all the challenges here in the world. And a lot of us have run with that for a long time. In fact, when I started this show, that's how I was thinking. I was thinking that, Adam made a mistake. And I'm not saying he didn't. I'm just saying, that's how I was thinking about it. And a lot of my questions were around the mistake and how can we not make the mistake in the future and so forth. But then when my last guest threw it out that, well, he feels that Adam loved Eve so much that he chose to join her in biting the fruit, even though he was commanded by God to not do it, because God is love, and God created Adam to have an entity he could love, right? So Adam loved God, God loved Adam, but God also created Eve to be the helpmate for Adam. And when Eve was presented to Adam, he said, now this is flesh of my flesh and bone of my bone. In other words, it's not just a immortal entity. This is now someone that is just like me. We are together in this. We are one, really. And he said, he even started prophesying. He said, for this, a man will leave his mother and father and cling to his wife. Well, Adam didn't have a mother and father, but he did have a father figure. So when all this transpired, he had the choice to say, you know what, I'm going to take the fruit too. I'm going to go ahead and go there, because I believe most Christians who read the Bible also believe that Adam and Eve were created to live forever. They were eternal physical beings. They had the tree of life as well to extend their life even further if they needed to. So, and they never even paid much attention to the tree of life. That was because they were eternal from the beginning. So Adam was like, well, I don't want to live in eternity without this woman. So I'm going to join her in this process. And, we just got to see where it goes. What do you think about all that?
So I have a couple thoughts on that. I mean, I think it is a better story that it is a conscious decision instead of a bumbling mistake.
Correct.
You generally, when the story is told, it's oh, hey, oopsie. I didn't know what I was doing. Right. I was tricked as well. Which really paints the Eve in a bad light. You know what I mean? It makes her seem evil because she knew what she was doing was wrong. Whereas if it was a conscious decision to be like, something bad's going to happen, might as well make it happen to us and not just me.
Right.
Feels like a better story to be told, or at least a better way to tell the story, right? Because then it also feeds into, we'll say, men's hubris, right? In our desire to be the protectors, the ones to be there for, which is our job, right? We're supposed to protect the ones we love, or at least be with them when they need us. In that situation, I totally believe that is something that is believable. I mean, if that's how we're supposed to act, what we're meant to act like, that is much more believable than a dumb dude eating fruit, not knowing what the heck he was doing.
Right. And again, all this is just us speculating because we don't know for sure. We just kind of just talking about it. But then someone would say, well, yeah, but what about when he said it was that woman that you gave me? Because now he's pushing the blame on the woman. Maybe. Okay, but think about this. Because we don't know we don't know the actual mindset he was in. In other words, the phrasing of those words could be different. It could be like, well, what did you think was going to happen? You gave me this woman. She did it, so I'm going to join her. I mean, we're one, right? So it was the woman that you gave me because I love her so much, and you gave her to me, so she did it. So yeah, I did it, and it was a woman.
Right. And that it also doesn't throw away the fact that some dudes could be cowardly after they make a decision. I mean, sometimes you shoot for something because you think it's right, and then you realize I done goofed bad. Well, make excuses. It's a poor example of being a man, but it is something that we demonstrate in the real world today still.
Yeah.
Placing the blame on other people even when it is wholly our fault. Or partially our fault. You know what I mean? Either way. Some people just don't take blame on.
Yeah, the part of the topic for today, talking about embracing vulnerabilities and empathy, and there were a lot of vulnerabilities involved, and the empathy I think is again, for the past 6 episodes I had been looking at it from the screw up, but now I'm looking at it from a more love relationship, a more empathizing relationship, to where Adam wasn't willing to leave her. He wasn't willing to go on eternity without her because now she had taken the fruit. So I think his empathy was towards sticking it out with her, whatever that was going to look like down the road.
Right. I mean, literally being the only person he could be with and whatnot was probably a high key motivator. But that was his gift from God, a literal present, something bore of him. So what would it be but a pure and utter waste to not be wholeheartedly committed? You know what I mean? What would be the point as if he was flaky on it?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And again, the fact that where was I going with that, man? I just had a thought and I lost it right quick. I hate when that happens. But yeah, God is love, and He created Adam um, out of love, and He also wanted a helpmate for Adam. And when He was bringing the animals to Adam to name, I talked about this on one of the other shows. At first Adam's like, "Oh yeah, that's an elephant. That's this. That's that." And afterwards, yeah, alligator, spider, and then Eve showed up. There, whoa, uh-oh. Now this is something different. This is bone of my bone and flesh of my. I mean, that's when he started really getting animated about the whole thing. And I think that is, the love story aspect to it. Again, this is not a common thought process in the Christian world, because we want to blame Adam for everything. But the love aspect to me starts to make more sense. Like you were saying, is it's just something I really never thought about. But and I was joking with somebody the other day. I said this show is named Mastering Adam, but it winds up being Mastering Casper, and hopefully Mastering Roger and everything, because it's about how we as men kind of go through this process and grow as husbands and fathers and friends and everything else. So I get the benefit of being on each show, obviously with my guest hosts, but anyone who follows the series, they're going to start to see a progression with themselves, like I'm seeing a progression because I'm on every show. But if somebody watched it from show 1 to show now, they will see a progression in themselves, like I'm seeing in myself as I talk about these issues. And I had someone else say the other day, they said, well, how much can you talk about Adam? How long can you stay on this topic of Adam and Eve and mastering Adam before you run out of subject matter? And I said, well, I've got 20 shows already lined up with different topics already lined up. So I can do it for at least 20 shows. I know I can do that. Right. And I don't know what happens after that, but I think it's important in today's society with the challenge that men are facing, with all the demasculinization, if that's even a word. They're turning men into something else, or trying to. And I think because of that, we need something like this to really allow men to discuss these types of things. We can be vulnerable, we can have empathy with situations, and still be men, and still be male men as fathers and husbands to our wives.
I 100% agree. It's not only an ability, it's a responsibility.
Right.
We are supposed to be emotional and understand how people feel, so we can make the most informed decisions. Because if you don't account for feelings, you're just going to hurt people. Whether that's physically hurt them or emotionally hurt them or whatever else, right? And it's not necessarily masculine to hurt people, right? It's masculine to protect and love and take care of, right? That's your job as a man.
Yeah. In fact, I have an image that kind of speaks to that, if I can find it. And this is a very common image. People have seen this forever, and some have dismissed it as being chauvinistic and everything else, But there is a structure. There's an alignment that is the proper alignment, the biblical alignment, if you will, that keeps things in perspective and keeps things running smoothly. It's only when this alignment gets out of whack is when things go awry, right? So, and the husband is not the overlord of the family, but he is the protector. He is the one that's supposed to be leading the family, supposed to be providing for the family, and so forth. Those are things the husband should be doing in in a optimum situation. Now there are situations that are not optimal to where there's a divorce, or there's a death in the family to where the mom or the wife has to become now the leader of the family. That's understandable. But in a optimum situation, you have God in Christ, you have the husband, you have the wife, and you have the children. And when you have a family where the children are just going any way they want to go and doing anything they want to do, that's when there's challenges in the family. So we have to, uh, you know, um, I don't know why this image is so hard for people to understand that that's the optimum way for that to be. Uh,
Well, this is a great topic for this, but like humans have been around for a while now, right? Um, if there was a better way to do what we do, we would have figured it out, right? And the optimal thing that has been the optimal way to do stuff has been the same for a long time. Now, is there ways to tweak it and fit people's situations better so we can account for when those umbrella pieces are in different places? Of course, right? That's a wonderful thing about being human. It is adjustable and adaptable. You can make things work however you need to make them work. But if you follow the optimal order, things will generally be the easiest.
right. And not only is it optimal, it's the natural order. It's not unnatural. None of that is unnatural. But there are a lot of unnatural things going on that can and will destroy a civilization if we're not careful. Um, uh, what came to my mind quickly was China. In China, they had a one-child policy. So for the longest time, for them, it made sense because they were overpopulation and all these other things. But now that one-child policy, because it was unnatural for them to tell families you can only have one child, and and they were just aborting every other children, and I guess it only be a male child. I'm not sure if it's male, female, but they're going to have one child.
So I've actually done some research on this a while
Very
ago,
good.
and yeah, no. So essentially, because of the rule, they could only have one. Didn't matter if it was a boy or a girl,
Okay.
right? But Chinese culture generally wants you to have a male child because they're ones that are going to take over the family. They're going to run things. They're the more important gender in their society,
Right.
so on and so forth, right? On a basic level, that's how it works. And the thought process behind it was, we have a boy, so the boy takes care of us when we are old and tired and whatnot.
Right.
Again, makes sense. The issue is they killed millions, right, of girls.
Yeah.
Just wiped them off the map.
Yeah.
But now the population is like 10-1 females to males, or the other way around, males to females.
Yeah.
And so getting married in China is ridiculously hard, right? It's great for the women. They have whatever choices they want. You know what I mean? They can wait for their 6'2" perfect stud to show up in their life and take care of them, all that fun stuff. But like for everyday yahoos, because of the decisions of thousands of parents and grandparents before them, like they're kind of in trouble. They're going to be alone for most of their life.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of social suffering for that because there's going to be a lot of lonely, sad men. Especially now, they're all getting to be my age and older, and it's a rough situation.
Yeah. Well, the population, the age of the population obviously is rising, and they don't have enough viable young people to sustain that population. So as much as China is a threat, economically or whatever to the United States and so forth, and a threat as far as military or whatever, they don't have enough numbers. They have lots of people, hundreds of millions of people, but I'm saying they don't have enough numbers to sustain their own culture over time. Now, it's not going to happen overnight, but I'm saying over time, the older population is going to be dying off, and there's no one to replace them. Okay, the numbers aren't there to replace them. So I heard a guy.
It's not even our current generation; it's next generation that's going to have a problem. So
Right.
when we're the old people in the retirement homes, there's going to be a tenth of the grandchildren out there that there were.
Right.
They're going to have a population drop that's just going to devastate their numbers. Which that's one of those. There are consequences to your actions kind of situations, and they're going to unfortunately experience it a couple of generations down the line.
Yeah. So, in lieu of our current conversation about the love aspect that I kind of threw in there, uh, do you think that Adam took charge or should have taken or took charge of the situation when it comes to the fall?
So again, it could be more of this is why men decide to act the way they are now, so they don't make the same mistakes they did before, right? Even if it was an act of love, right? That was one of the first times that we're told that Adam didn't actively do something, right? He wasn't in charge of that decision,
Right.
right? And
That's a good
whether
point.
he made the decision to follow through and support his other half, his other whole, right? He was therefore like he was supposed to,
Yeah.
and it was wrong, right? Um, and maybe, right, that's one of the reasons why men have such a hard time with letting other people lead, because way back when our story first started, we had that issue.
Yeah.
Whether that's gonna happen all the time or not is whatever, but it might explain why we have that issue in the long run. You know what I mean? Why there's the trusting issue, why we're supposed to lead because reasons.
Yeah.
If Adam had been there by the devil while he was tempted, we don't know if he would have made the same mistake, right? At the end of the day, if we let's say that he chose to make the mistake because he was supporting protecting his Eve, that's still a decision he had to go with and follow, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and it's hard to know just by reading the Bible, because it said, and she handed it to him. So it's like she didn't go. It doesn't say she went to go find him. It doesn't say she found him working or she had to discover where he was. She said she handed it to him. So that it implies that he was right there, and that goes down a whole nother path, because if he was right there and she was talking to a serpent, and if that wasn't unusual, then it would have been something he said, whoa, whoa, why are you talking to the snake? Right. I mean, so it seems that Adam and Eve were in communication with animals all the time. In other words, it wasn't strange for her to be talking with a serpent or any other animal for that matter. Right.
Right.
And then I was talking about on a different show that the conversation between Satan and the serpent and Eve, is that it wasn't a beginning conversation. In other words, I don't walk up to you not knowing you or your wife and say, "Did your wife really say that you couldn't go out on Friday night?" Right? It's not something you just walk up to somebody and say. Right? You're having a conversation, and then you mention, "Oh yeah, yeah, my wife said I can't go out on Friday night," and then I come back to you and say, "Really? Did your wife really say that?" So, again, this is all speculation because we don't know, because it's not written in the Bible. But it seems to me that that's a mid conversation that we are exposed to where Satan comes back around to Eve after other conversations and now tries to tempt her to take the fruit.
Right. One of the problems with Genesis is the perception of time isn't necessarily
Right.
well documented. So that could have taken a really long time. There could have been a much longer conversation that we're not privy to.
Right.
You know,
And that's what I'm saying. It seems like it was a much longer conversation.
Right. Like you just said, that's not something you just go up and do. And even if you did, right? Let's say that that's how you started the conversation because you overheard it in the corner or whatever.
Right.
The only thing that we can blame ourselves on that is naivete, right? Being naive in the moment, right? Because at that point, deception wasn't a used tactic that we know of. Animals didn't lure each other into traps because they weren't killing each other. They didn't have any of that. So maybe we go back to, it could have been they did just walk up and start talking to him, and they just weren't cautious of it because they had no need to be. When you're in a perfect place, it's easy to be hurt because you don't expect things to happen.
Yeah. There's a lot. That's why this is the 7th episode, and we just keep it. I just keep uncovering more and more about this one point in time that kind of launched everything. And then there's the whole aspect of God knowing our past, present, and future anyway. So this didn't appear to be according to scripture. It doesn't appear to be a surprise that this actually happened. It might even have been, and this is really a stretch, maybe, or maybe not, but it might have been part of the plan because God knew that Adam was going to choose Eve over him so that this whole thing started.
Right, and we got back to, and if he didn't, it would just be him wasting God's gift, right? He'd be throwing away something beautiful, something that was given to him, that was wholly his, that was part of him, for pride, for something, right? Yeah. And what at the end of the day would have been worse for humans as a whole. Now, obviously, we know that where we are now is good because there's plenty of good things in the world and plenty of bad things in the world.
Yeah.
I don't know where I was going with that topic, but I had a thought. That's my turn for a brain fart.
Yeah,
sorry.
Right. I've been there just recently. Hey, we had a couple of questions that came in and have come in over a couple of weeks. And one of them is about relationships being 50-50. And I have my take on that, but I'd love to hear your take on relationships being 50-50.
So I think ideally it would be 50-50, but in reality, no. You know what I mean? Someone's always going to be putting in more effort than the other one. People come in from a hard day of work, so on and so forth, and they just don't have the energy or the effort to give that 50-50. But it is about reciprocation. You know what I mean? If you're having a real bad day, and your other is there to be there for you and support you the best they can one way or the other, you need to be doing the same on their bad days. You know, if you're taking care of housework and yard work and that kind of stuff, like sometimes you got to point out that, hey, you don't ever mow the grass or scrub the toilets or, that kind of thing, because you hate doing those and I'll take care of them because they need to get done. Yeah. Right. That's part of my 50-50. That's something that you can talk about or whatnot in those conversations where you're like, you're not doing enough laundry. Well, you're not cleaning the gutters once a month, whatever, just those kind of things, that a lot of the times with the 50-50, it's you need to help with everything that gets done instead of having a responsibility that you're taking care of and being like, this is what I'm due. You know what I mean? I take out the trash on Tuesdays because that's my job. You do the laundry on Thursdays because that's what you do. You know what I mean? They're not always equivalent, but they are responsibilities. Now, should you be willing to help your partner do the things that they do when they're having those quote unquote bad days? Yeah. Yes. But as I said before, it's all about the reciprocation. So the more that you do those kind of things, you should be getting something in equal measure back with your side of stuff. You know what I mean? And that can be simple as holding the ladder while the gutters are getting thing. You know what I mean? So they're there for your safety, or just to have a conversation or to be in union with your other half. Yeah. So you have a chance to spend more time together. If your other half is complaining about laundry, doing laundry together, right? Mm-hmm. Taking half the loads and folding half the stuff and piling is a great time for conversations, right? It's a good time to talk, good time to do things. That's the same with any chore that you're doing, whether dishes, cooking, whatever. If they're having a real problem with that 50-50, be there with them while they're doing it. Be present in those actions, and there will be an improvement. This is something I've experienced in personal life, being married for about 10 years now. Being there is more important than actually doing the work, because doing the work kind of gets ignored. But if you're there with the person, they see that you're present and doing things, it's going to mean way more 99% of the time. Yeah.
Interesting. So I have a little bit of a different take on it.
Okay.
And this may be, it may be a new concept, but my wife and I teach couples. We're marriage relationship coaches. Mm-hmm. And we teach couples to be 100%, both being 100%, because like you mentioned, sometimes we're off, right? So if we're off and we're at 80 and they're at 80 or 70, at least our relationship is at a higher level overall, because at 50% and then you're off, now you're at 30 or 40%. Right? So it's better to be off. If you are shooting for 100, it's better to be off a little bit and be at 70 or 80 than to be off and be at 30 or 40. And then there's my wife calling me right now, probably about the house and the insurance and all the other stuff going on. Anyway, so right now I work from home. So I'm and and this goes back to Adam. I'm bringing this back around to Adam because Adam, his first commandment was to work and to tend the garden and take care of stuff. So, from my perspective and how we teach men is that everything is your job. Everything is your job. Now, you have a helpmate to help you with a lot of that. And the helpmate could be better at it than you are. Like, the wife could be better at cooking. But in some relationship, the husband is a much better cook than the wife, right? And right now, because I'm home, I do a lot of the cleaning and the washing of clothes and stuff. Because I'm here, I can just start it and do my stuff at home. So I do a lot. I call it Cinder Fella. I'm the Cinder Fella right now. So I'm doing a lot of that, but it's all my responsibility. And when I look at it from that perspective, I appreciate my wife more when she does XYZ, whatever it is, right? Because she's taking that off my plate. And in a good relationship, pretty much like you mentioned earlier, in a good relationship, you're helping each other, whether it's with the kids, whether it's with the laundry, whether it's cooking, whether it's getting the kids back and forth to school or whatever it is. You're working at it together, but work on each being 100%, so that if one of you are off, it's still a really good place to be. Does that make sense?
No, it totally makes sense. I love that concept. I feel it's a different way of saying the same thing, though.
Yeah.
But yes, I totally agree.
Absolutely. Well, we're at the top of the hour. So I just wanted to close out the show with the fact that you can get a free ebook for our book. It's the first 5 chapters of our book. Let me see if I can get a picture of it here. It's the first 5 chapters of our book in this free ebook. You can go to our website, IamLoveBuilders.com. Just click on the link to get the free ebook. It's really going to help you, and it's free. And the first 5 chapters are actually jam-packed with a lot of great information, but it helps you understand how powerful the rest of the book is because there's 20 other chapters after the 5. So grab your free copy of the ebook, and remember, if you're not having fun, you are probably not doing it right. We'll see you on the next show. Thanks. Bye.